There was a guy, and he was I guess he was a systems administrator at a place where I was temporarily working. And I don't know whether I thought of him as a rival or not. I didn't know as much about systems administration, and I still don't know as much about shell scripting and systems administration. I've got an overview, but there's a lot of white guys, and then that guy who's colored, look like a half and half African American, more or less. It doesn't matter what race they are, but they all want to compete with me, whether they're Jewish or white or African American. They all want to compete with me. I've never written a program, and I've really never written a complete shell script, not even containing a for loop. I've read about these programming constructs, but here's the thing. What makes a great programmer? It's the ability to understand the program and the requirements of the program, and to make a good flow chart. And then if I had someone else write the code for me, that would be legitimate. I could be a great programmer and say, you go write the code, because that's a chore, and that's menial work, and it's not important. You go memorize the function names and the syntax, and you write the code. I give you the flow chart. And my flow chart, if it makes sense and it's a good program, it's your privilege to write the code. I don't have to know the code. But it's also nice, it really helps to be familiar. You have to be at least a good mathematician, and I'm not. And I'm not a good programmer, I guess. But I do have some experience in systems of logic, and I can probably understand something that is more complicated than even many of the most successful programmers. So reading comprehension is very important. To be able to understand, to have the patience and the persistence to read something you don't understand and then take notes and say, I didn't understand that, I'm going to research that, I'm going to look it up, and then I'm going to understand it, so that I can at least know that my reading comprehension was belatedly, I improved my reading comprehension enough to get through the paragraph and understand the statement. And it's really hard to read some of these mathematical textbook introductions with a lot of mathematical jargon. And it would take a long time for me to learn all that. But the point is that writing the code is the last part of the job. And if you can understand and write it in English, you're going to have to be like a math professor to write seriously complex software written in English. And if you can write it in English and it makes sense and a mathematician can read it, or a computer science graduate can read it and say, yeah, that's a real program and that's a great idea, you're done. Your work is achieved even before the code has been written. That is, unless your program has too much demanding resource usage, and it requires, it's too slow. Even if it's slow, and it takes 3 weeks to run the program, that's how the way it was with old computers and new software. It might be worthwhile to run a really complex program that takes 3 weeks. Like big movies take scenes, they can take weeks to render, and that's not very important, but also an important job of working with information to extract facts and insights from a big data set. That could take 3 weeks to process the data or more. So just because it's slow doesn't mean it's not worthwhile. Let's say I wrote a program, or I designed a program and had a department of software engineers write that program for me. And I'm the type of guy who would have a department of software engineers working for me, and computer scientists and mathematicians as my consultants. And then I would design a program and write it in English. And anyway, it's more important to have the conceptual overview than it is to know the function names and the syntax. And that's a lesson for Linus Torvalds to meditate on. Okay, that's all for now.